Oh, hey folks, so, I'm not sure why the theater is suddenly a ball pit.
It's your birthday, and we want you to have fun. It's your birthday, so let's party everyone. It's your birthday, and we want you to
Okay, that's kind of concerning. Well then, let's just get back to the movie. This is 2021's Willy's Wonderland. Quick warning, this is a spoiler-filled review, so click off now if you want, but definitely come back after you watch the movie for yourself. We start with Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul Entertainment, followed up by no less than 4 other production companies that helped put it together. All my bad movie senses are already tingling. We're met with what appears to be quite an interesting promo vid, and a couple rocking some hip Willy's Wonderland merch. Too bad that, and the TV are quickly splattered with what I'm sure is just pizza sauce. Oh, and some people might have died, but, you know, whatever. Elsewhere, we get a driving sequence that Birdemic could definitely take some lessons from. I wonder if that's a plug-in hybrid. Elsewhere, someone spiked the road, and it leaves Nick Cage feeling a little flat. At least he's rocking some better-than-average fake hair. We get the first of many Cage stares as the tow truck driver gabs. It actually takes the local sheriff to shut him down.
Slid right in there and then pop,
I
pop.
don't have time for this today, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Cage then makes a silent connection with the sheriff's daughter Liv before they drive off. The sheriff leaves Liv handcuffed to a heater. Luckily, her friends bust in, saving her from a night of boredom and a penis cake pan on the wall. As a side note, why is there a penis-shaped cake pan on the wall? Cage gives a collection of missing posters a quick glance as he finds out that he needs to drop big money to get his tires fixed. Or he could.
You spend the night cleaning Willy's Wonderland, and I will pay to have your car fixed.
He stares deep into Willy's eyes and agrees. We meet the gang.
got Audie the Alligator, Siren Sarah, Cammy the Chameleon, Gus Gorilla, Nighty Night, Ozzy the Ostrich, and Tino the Toilet.
And Tex gives one final bit of advice,
Be sure to take breaks.
which Cage will literally take as gospel throughout the night. There's a ton of exciting janitorial action complete with an audience, until he gets a signal for his first of many caffeine-fueled break times. It's here he finds your average kitchen-based pinball machine, which, by Cage's response to it, makes me think that he might have just found true love. Cage gets back into the hot janitorial action, which doesn't seem to impress Ozzy Ostrich. He takes on this silent criticism by beating the shit out of the bird and causing a fatality. All of this requires a shirt change and another scheduled break so Cage can spend time with his true love. He then walks into the real horror of this movie. The gents' bathroom, where he's not only confronted by Willy's wee weasel's changing station, but also Gus Gorilla, who ends up leaving, quite a mess. Honestly, I think Gus might have had too many chili dogs before this. Cage changes again and spends his next break on nail care and pinball. Elsewhere, Liv and her motley crew try to get Cage out, starting with her crawling through insanely large air ducts, which happen to be home to Artie Alligator. I'm just happy this movie gives a reason for big vents. I mean, they are an alligator's natural habitat. Her friends try to enter via roof, whose green screen work is just as effective as the one in the room. The roof gives way, and they land in a ball pit, which is a pretty lucky break. Liv drops a history of Willy's Wonderland, and it's about what you'd expect. Typical satanic shenanigans that cause the souls of serial killers to inhabit the animatronic mascots of a kid's pizza joint that kill at will to fulfill their thirst for destruction. In the meantime, these two sneak away for some super happy fun time, complete with a snuck-in party hat pulled from places unknown. I do wonder though why they didn't just choose the ball pit. I mean, that seems like a logical place. While they work the joystick and Cage plays with the pinball machine's buttons, Willy draws in the rest of the group with his angelic voice.
Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, 6 little chickens at the end of the line.
And slays them! Well, actually Nighty Night does the slaying, but you know, it's all relative. Cage shows up, cuts him off, and is once again covered with oil, or lube, or something. The sheriff is finally called and she drops one of the greatest lines in the movie.
Put your balls on, Evan. We're going to Willys.
Ally Alligator joins our young lovers and goes from voyeur to interior designer, doing the super happy fun room in an interesting blood splatter motif. This guy and Cammy Chameleon have an intimate moment,
I can show you what's on the other side, if you can help me get there.
which leads to her using her tongue in a really exotic way. Cage is ready to go to war by Liv's side. until his watch tells him it's break time. Wow, nothing can distract this man from his rigid schedule of caffeine and pinball. After quite a bit of exposition, Cage ends up in handcuffs, and Siren Sarah makes an appropriate suggestion.
Hey, cowboy. Ready for a little menage a trois?
And then changes his shirt before getting back into some fine detail cleaning, which includes leaving all the bodies by the ball pit so they can always be near fun. Cage approaches Willy, stares into his eyes, and then goes on break. He does a special dance for the pinball machine, and we learn that the true heart of this movie is the love shared by a man and his pinball machine. Nah, I'm just fucking with ya. It's the epic climax between a one-eared weasel and the silent loner. Highly caffeinated man versus furry possessed bod. William Weasel versus Nicholas Kim Coppola. But first, Cage has to deal with the sheriff being a bit disappointed in him.
Look at me when I'm talking to you. All you had to do was die. Was that so hard?
This leads to arguably the best kill in the movie, and another destroyed shirt. The climax finally hits, and we're treated to Cage getting shredded by a possessed animatronic weasel, all to a discordant take on a bargain birthday song. Luckily, he does land in the ball pit. He strikes back with a burlap sack filled with punch pop and an ugly stick, which leaves Willy as a gooey mess. Outside, the tow truck driver whips shitties in Cage's car, but ultimately surrenders the keys, leaving Liv and Cage to ride off into the sunset, where they hit Tito the Turtle Furby thing along the way just for good measure.
Friends, the party never ends at Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland is an interesting movie. It's based on a 2016 short film called Wally's Wonderland, which was also the film's original title. The director described the movie as 1985's Pale Rider meets Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It caught Nick Cage's attention, and he went on to be both a lead actor and a producer. He said the idea of playing a silent horror movie character was intriguing to him, and his character is only credited as the janitor. Due to the film's generally positive reception and support, a sequel was greenlit shortly after its initial release. It shares its premise as well as elements of the character design with Five Nights at Freddy's, but this isn't directly linked to the video game franchise. According to IMDb, there is a FNAF movie in pre-production, being directed by Chris Columbus. According to the props department, the actress that played Kathy chewed over 81 pieces of gum during filming. Now that's what you call commitment to a role. I really enjoyed Cage's nonchalant approach to each animatronic fight. That routine break without fail was incredibly amusing, but I can see how it could distract you from the story. It was interesting how playing pinball almost provided a safe haven from what was going on outside the kitchen. This might have been intentional as comic relief, but it would have been cool to see one of those sessions broken up with an attack that maybe took out the pinball machine or spilled his drink. He played the immovable object type guy really well, but to not have that unbridled Cage for just a little bit felt like something was missing from this movie. Set-wise, the only place that actually conveys abandon is the bathroom. The rest just feels underused. After all, there are still plates on the table, and the fridge and the water in the kitchen are still functioning. Also, I gotta ask, if there are blood and guts being strewn all over the place on a normal basis, who actually has to clean that up? And I really hope they're well paid. On that note, the one thing that made me laugh continuously was how everything in this universe is so juicy. Like, person gets killed, the room gets absolutely covered in blood. Animatronic thing gets destroyed, the room is absolutely splattered with maybe oil or lube, I think. And the use of lens flares was an interesting touch. I'm pretty sure it would have made J.J. Abrams really proud. There was the start of something good here. The first 30 or so minutes were really solid, but then all this extra shit was added. I really wanted to scream, just let this be a thing. If Nick Cage can ride into town without a backstory, the long, drawn-out bits of exposition on the becoming of the possessed animatronics wasn't really needed. A simple line about evil forces at work or typical devious small-town secrets could have handled it. It doesn't come into play with the rest of the story, and overall, it just feels like filler. A lot of parallels have been drawn between Willy's Wonderland and the Banana Splits movie, which given both the plot and the chief baddies, makes a lot of sense. For me, they both have positives in different areas, but Banana Splits outshines Willy's Wonderland. Willy's story is so much more basic, and it does let the horror do the talking. With good reason, Nick Cage's character and overall journey are really the only ones that we care about. And that in mind, the teen actors were really solid, but they were just horror tropes. Besides Liv, I can't even really tell you their names. But the worst offense, the kills are just normal. Like, they were shot in an interesting way. But this is a movie about possessed killer animatronics. That in itself should lead to something beyond a basic kill. For all the flack that you can throw at Banana Splits, it has a massive amount of unique and interesting kills. I chuckled at various points of Willy's Wonderland, but I outrightly laughed at Banana Splits. The kills are more interesting, the premise and characters are more fleshed out. Now, all that in mind, my judgment is a bit biased. I really enjoy Banana Splits. My concerns with this movie are mostly nitpicks. Overall, Willy's Wonderland is still a ton of fun. Nick Cage puts on a very Nick Cage show, and it's a great movie to watch as long as you don't think too deeply about it. Also, for lovers of FNAF, it's an okay substitute until the actual movie comes around. So what do you think? Suggestions for movies, trivial questions, comments, ratings, and a Willy's Wonderland pinball machine would be appreciated. Thank you so very much for watching.